Hello there, my name is Tim Skinner and I'm here at AfricaCom 2015, and today I'm speaking with Jackie Chimhanzi, who is with the Industrial Development Corporation. Hello Jackie.
Hi, how are
Thanks
you,
very
Tim?
much for joining us
Thank
today.
you so much, thank you.
You're at AfricaCom this week then,
Yes,
and for viewers who may not be aware of some of the work that you do at the IDC, can you just give us a bit of information about the operation that you have running?
Okay, so the IDC is the Industrial Development Corporation of South Africa. We are the largest DFI, Development Finance Institute, on the African continent. We're a South African government entity, but we operate as a private entity in the sense that we have to be sustainable. So we fund various activities aligned to advancing the industrialization agenda, and we generate jobs in the process as one of our key outcomes, and other developmental outcomes like promoting women, youth, and the rural economy. Yeah.
Okay. And the central theme to this week's show then is using digital to drive innovation and drive transformation of African economies and societies and businesses. What would you say then the biggest challenge and therefore the biggest opportunity is in driving digital uptake throughout the continent?
Okay, I think the challenge just relates to the cost of infrastructure. So the capital expenditure that you need to lay down fiber across the continent. But we've seen companies like Liquid Telecom, they're doing that. And I think the CEO has got an amazing vision, which is to lay fiber from Cape to Cairo, like right across the entire continent. So that's very bold, but you can also appreciate the challenge that comes with that. So I think the main challenge is, the cost. But the opportunity is once we have laid down the fiber, what that does, even from a developmental perspective, just the opportunities, healthcare, education, agro, all the various sectors that can be driven through access to ICT.
Notwithstanding the huge civil engineering effort that will be involved in laying fibre from Cape to Cairo.
Absolutely.
You mentioned there then it would be a financing problem primarily.
Yes.
Where would you say that the burden of responsibility lies for financing such a huge operation? Is that an industrial thing or is that a governmental thing? What are your thoughts on that?
It's probably a PPP thing, because I think there are benefits for the private sector. There are also benefits for government from the developmental perspective. How to provide greater access to technology for your citizens so that you can begin to drive your education agenda, your healthcare agenda. So it probably is a PPP thing, yeah. And I think the more that government and private sector collaborate, the more we get the kinds of meaningful partnerships that help to drive the African industrialization agenda.
I think mentioning governmental private sector partnerships
is
always one where you have two different MOs coming together. So primarily the private sector will be driven by a need for profit and return on investment, but the government would have their own agenda then. How do you think MNOs and internet service providers would respond to this sort of call to arms to invest heavily in this infrastructure across the continent?
It's a tough one, but like I'm with the DFI, so for example, we play in spaces that commercial banks don't necessarily play in, and we absorb more risk.
Right.
So by the very definition of being a DFI, we are supposed to take more risk, and then we are supposed to crowd in the private sector. So there is a role for DFIs to play, and there's also a role for the private sector to play. Yeah. So you may need the one party to go in and to unlock the opportunities before you crowd in the other sort of more commercially minded investors. Yeah.
And have you been? What's the reception that you've received from the private sector so far in your work?
But we've also seen a lot of private sector lay their own fiber, for example, because the business case is so compelling. But I guess the business case becomes less compelling as you move beyond the urban areas, where the uptake is very low. And I think as you move outside of the urban areas, it becomes more of a developmental mandate. But I think there is room to kind of combine the both. There's a room to blend the kind of finances that would allow you to move beyond urban into rural while still making a profit and while still being developmental. Yeah.
I see. And how do you think that shows such as AfricaCom, how do you think they help to advance the industry in Africa?
AfricaCom has been really amazing. It's my first time here. But it's just so amazing to see so many different entities under one roof, to see government, to see investors, to see providers, to see MNOs. It's really is quite spectacular. And I think there's a magic that happens when you have so many different stakeholders under the same roof, co-crafting solutions to Africa's challenges. So I'm very positive that good things will come out of this, that help to drive Africa forward.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I think that answered my next question, which was, do you think that at shows such as this, we do get the opportunities to bring together these stakeholders and help advance the work that you're doing?
No, absolutely, absolutely. It's been a great show, and I hear it's getting bigger by the year. Absolutely. And I look forward to being here again next year.
Brilliant.
Okay,
thanks very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.